And good evening. Welcome to the University of Dubuque Football Show on this Monday night, the final Monday night of September, as we're going to be getting into October. And it's a big week this week on the University of Dubuque campus, homecoming week. So festivities throughout the week. And if we get a chance, we'll run down some of those for alumni that might be interested and don't know all that's going on. But you can go to dbq.edu and find out all the information as well. But a big week in the life of any campus, whether it be high school or college homecoming week. And I think the marching band, you might be able to see them in the background at Chalmers Field here preparing for their homecoming event that is coming up. But we're here to talk UD football. Head coach Ryan Myeri, the coach of the Spartans, joining me right now to talk a little bit about the homecoming opponent. So we'll get into that in a little bit as the Luther College Norse will be coming in here for the next game on the schedule. After a tough loss on the road at Coe College, 27-10, the final there at Clark Field in Cedar Rapids. And, Coach, you knew it was going to be a tough game against Coe College, a team that was unbeaten, a team that has been playing well and always has a great program. So you knew that going in. And, first half was a draw, and the second half, third quarter, turned out to be big, and we can talk about that as we go. But just a tough loss for you.
Yeah, it was really tough. And I feel for our staff and coaches, but give all credit where credit's due. And, Coe has a great football program, and they're coached really well. And they outplayed us on Saturday. And so they did a great job. We fell short in some areas, but I'm also proud of our guys. You spoke of it. Halftime was a 3-3 draw, and I felt like we were in a really good position. We had didn't necessarily score on offense into the end zone, but we had some pretty good drives and overcame some things, and our defense was lights out again in the first half for the most part and played really well with their backs against the wall in some scenarios and responded really well. So there was some positives out of it. But, yeah, it was definitely disappointing at the end of it too.
Yeah, it was, like you said, a draw at halftime, 3-3 score. So the defenses obviously played pretty well. And, they scored in the second quarter. You scored right after that with a field goal. 13 plays, 49 yards. So I think that might have been your longest drive of the day, although you had another long drive or two in the second half.
Yeah, we had a couple of decent drives that weren't just like 3 or 4 play drives. Even the first drive of the game, we got the ball and we got a penalty right out of the gate, the first play with the hands to the face. And, our guys were at 1st and 20 and they battled and responded to that. And that was really good to see because sometimes that leads to a 3 and out in that scenario. And our guys battled back. We had a pretty good drive that first series. But, yeah, going down, it was a missed opportunity. I felt like if we could have punched that one into the end zone when we got down there instead of settling for a field goal, that could have been a big momentum swing for us going into the half. We had 2 missed potential throws and then also took a sack that was unnecessary. We actually had pretty good protection on that. And, that's something I talked to the quarterbacks on. Like, I got to work with them more and better and feeling the pocket and climbing up into the pocket because we definitely could have extended that play, and that could have been maybe a big difference in the game. Going in at halftime up 7-3 versus 3-3 maybe is a different feel going into it.
Mm-hmm. You did get a field goal, like I mentioned, and Joseph Sia knocking it through. He's been pretty consistent for you this year, and special teams. I think you've been pleased with how that's come along through the course of the first few games here.
Oh, yeah, that's been, look, you've asked this question a couple of weeks, like what's the positives that you can take away from these games, and that was a huge positive. Like, you look at that, and, a couple of weeks ago, we're just trying to figure out how we can get the snap and hold down and then let alone get the extra point up, and now we hit a nice field goal, and that's a great momentum thing for his confidence, but also for our team's confidence. And we don't have to force a touchdown on every single possession. Like, we know we can score points in other ways too.
So you were tied at 3 apiece, and then third quarter came around, and boy, the ball was tough to come by for the Spartans in the second half. That third quarter was tough as Coe put their 2 touchdowns on the board there to make it a 14-3 game. And so, talk about the game at that point.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing just in the game overall is they were able to establish the line of scrimmage, on both sides of the ball. We didn't run the ball effectively offensively, and then they were able to do that with their offense against our defensive front. And, anytime you can do that, control the football that way, the team that possesses the football typically can win the football game. And, if you're always on offense, makes it tough. And so they did a really good job with their ground game. I think their running back had 190 rushing yards on 40-something carries, 42 carries. Like, yeah, you have 42 carries for almost 2 bills. That's controlling the line of scrimmage for sure.
No doubt about that. And I think you possessed it like 7 minutes in the second half, and so that kind of tells you the story of how Coe was able to keep the ball away and to limit your chances to score.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is too is like, they went down and scored right out of the half. So that gives them some momentum. It would have been nice if we had responded that way too. Unfortunately we went 3 and out really quickly, and then they get the ball back right away, and they had a nice drive again, and that was the tale of the third quarter pretty much. They were able to kind of control that thing, and it's tough to overcome that.
You got your touchdown with 2:23 left to go in the third quarter, a touchdown pass after, your best drive of the day because it ended with a touchdown, and freshman Joey Romberg having to come in relief of Brian Goltig. And, so tough situation again for your senior Goltig, but freshman came in and did what he needed to do in the second half.
Yeah, and that was – so there was a spurt actually right before halftime, and that's where they got some of their time of possession too. Now it was only about a minute and a half. But Ben got hurt right on that last series where we kicked the field goal. And there was probably 2-3 minutes left in the half or whatever. And, we actually stopped them. They got a penalty or whatever. We backed them up. And I could have called timeout, but I was thinking, I'm like, all right, it's a 3-3 game. We can hurry up and take a timeout here. But now I got a young quarterback going into a game that's really tight. So I was just kind of like, maybe it's best for us to get to the half here. In hindsight, looking at it, as maybe you should have just called the timeouts, maybe got one more possession right before the half and pushed the tempo a little bit. So maybe I outthought myself a little bit on that. But and then in the second half, he did. Ben was able to kind of regroup a little bit at halftime. He went out for the first series. I didn't feel really comfortable. I kind of felt like the Aurora game a little bit, like he went back in the game. And so I felt like, for his own safety and his health, it was best to just take him out in that scenario because he kind of re-aggravated his knee, and then let Joey kind of go out there and do his thing. And, I for the most part, he played pretty well. He made a lot of good decisions. That's the positive thing this week, too, is, we took care of the football better. We didn't turn the ball over at all. We just didn't make enough explosive plays and get the ball in the end zone. But we made a lot of pretty good reads at quarterback. And that was really optimistic for me, going forward and for our team.
I had that in my notes. No turnovers in the ball game for you. Unfortunately, for you, Coe didn't give the ball away. I think you had a forced fumble one time, but couldn't get back on it. But that's the way that it worked out. You ended up with 278 yards offense, and the ground game just wasn't to be had. Minus 30 yards. A lot of that was due to sacks.
Yeah,
obviously,
and a muff snap on a punt. That's a killer. So we lose 10 yards on that, and then we had a couple sacks. I think true run game, It was a couple positive yards, but the sacks really hurt, and we took them at critical times too, and so that hurts the run game. We didn't really even run the ball per se. I think we ran the ball a handful of times, actual true run plays. We were kind of committed to the air. Our skill guys are who we believe our best weapons are, so we're trying to get the ball to them, and sometimes it's a different form of running the football in a sense. We're getting the ball in their hands pretty quick, and I think that's what helped our quarterbacks kind of get in a rhythm at spurts in the game.
I just either learned something or you reminded me of something, that a muff punt is actually negative rushing yards.
Yeah, we took negative 10 on that.
Okay, so that skewed it a little bit there. But, like you said, the big thing was Coe's ground attack and be able to keep that ball away from you. And I think you had an opportunity in the fourth quarter to get a touchdown or you were driving and a turnover on downs to make that a little bit closer at maybe a critical point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, the game was you get a score, maybe you get a chance for an onside and have a Hail Mary shot.
Okay.
And that's what we were trying to do. It still had a potential there, we felt like. Once they got the field goal, though, that kind of took things out of reach for us. Before that, we were trying to prevent them from that opportunity. They got the field goal, but we still wanted to, we're still trying to grow our offense and get some cohesion there. We had a young quarterback in, and we got some receivers still learning. So, we wanted to take every opportunity we could and not just, cash it in and move on to the next game. Like, we wanted to still take our opportunities when we could, and against a really good defense.
Yeah, Co had the ball for nearly 13 minutes of the fourth quarter, so that tells you a little bit about how that game played out. Defensively though, like you said, you did some good things in the first half, and talk about the areas where you were most pleased defensively in that ball game.
Well, I think we played over half the game in man coverage and, covered down pretty well. They had a couple of big completions in the game, some of them on third downs that kept sustained drives. And I think Coach Shep will talk about that when you visit with him towards the end here. But, we had 2 third downs. It was 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 11. And, they converted both of those, and those both led to scores. And, if we can get ourselves off the field, those could be huge momentum changers for us. But overall, they played really well. We were flying around to the football. I think we had some miscues on some of our reads and gap integrity. And they ran some zone read stuff, and the quarterback was able to keep the ball and hurt us that way. And I think sometimes when guys are playing really hard, sometimes they lose that focus, and we just got to reel them back in. But I really appreciate their effort and the way that they're playing and what they're bringing to the table. And now we just got to hone in on the discipline side of it and sticking to our responsibilities, our assignments.
On the defensive side of the ball, your tackle leaders were Channing Williams, C.J. Dean with 8 apiece, and Landon Thomas and Jerome Wilson each had 7 of them. Parker Nowitzki had a good game for you. He had 5 tackles. He forced that fumble that you almost recovered, and had a couple of quarterback sacks too.
We actually did recover that, and that was actually a disappointment. It was a huge play for us, huge momentum, and we got the ball on their 45. It was, early in the game, and, we get the ball, and we had poor discipline on offense. We had a snap that was early on the very first play, and that set us behind already the chains. And, you go to second and 10 real quick on just a missed snap. And, we didn't do a good job of kind of battling back from that. And so that was a huge opportunity we could have capitalized on. But yeah, you mentioned Landon Thomas. Lando, he had a heck of a game coming up in the run. He had to step in for KJ James. He got injured during the game early on, and he stepped in, and he did a heck of a job in the run game and fitting. And that was really fun to watch him, grow in that position and, be the next man up. We talk about that a lot. Like, someone goes down, we shouldn't just be like, oh my gosh, we're in trouble now. It should be like, hey, this is another guy's opportunity to go make a play and be a part of what we're doing. So that was really cool to see him respond.
Yeah. Sorry, I read the stats there wrong, so I'm glad you were able to get that takeaway. And there it is. Yep, you recovered that fumble. My bad on that end. Offensively, Cameron Bryce, another steady game for you, 10 catches, 115 yards, and your touchdown catch.
Yeah, he had a really good game for the most part. And, it's pretty obvious what we're trying to do. He's one of our better playmakers, so we're trying to find ways to get him the football. I think Jamari had a good game. Hunter Preston had a really good game.
6 catches, 91 yards.
Yeah. All those guys had a piece in the offense. Hunter had a couple big catches. Wade got the ball a couple times. He's someone that we're still trying to get the ball to, and he's learning the offense. He missed all the spring and pretty much the greater part of fall camp. So, him being able to come back through and learn what we're doing, that's going to be big for the other guys. They got to spread their attention now and not just be able to focus on specific people.
So final score, again, ended up being a 27-10 loss to Co down at Clark Field. Coach, any final thoughts before we leave the Co game and look ahead to next ball game on the schedule, Luther College?
Yeah, we just talked about the game's done now, and we got to learn from it, take what we can from it, try not to repeat the mistakes that we made in that game, and move forward. And, learn from it, grow from it, and don't repeat it. And if we can do those things really well, we're going to be in good shape. We challenged the guys Friday night, to be +3 in the turnover category and have 0 pre-snap and post-snap penalties. And we didn't succeed in either of those, and we had a lot of pre-snap penalties and we had some post-snap penalties. And when you have those self-inflicted wounds, it's hard to win football games, especially when you're playing an elite football team in our league and a top-tier defense in the country. And we keep harping on this, is it's hard enough to beat one football team. And now when you're trying to beat 2, that's incredibly tough.
That's even more difficult. You're right. Coach Ryan Myeri joining us tonight here on the University of Dubuque football show. And Luther College is the next opponent on the schedule. We'll come back and talk with Coach Myeri about that. And then our assistant coach spotlight has Mitch Shepard, as the defensive coordinator for the Spartans this season. He's going to be coming by and visiting with us. We'll come back with more of the UD football show with Coach Ryan Myeri when we return after this. With head coach Ryan Myeri. Coach Shepard is in the building. He's going to be with us here in just a moment. Like I mentioned, a big week on the University of Dubuque campus with this being homecoming week. All kinds of festivities, numerous alumni events being held Thursday through Saturday on campus. If you want to check out the complete schedule, and I think you can still register for some of those events at dbq.edu/homecoming. This really caught my attention. The University Barbecue Lunch that's taking place at 11 o'clock, and that goes till 1:30, so that sounds like a great place to be on Friday at Grace Plaza, and Wallace Commons is where that is, and the UD Marching Band going to have a performance there around noon. The President's Welcome Reception takes place from 3 to 5 that afternoon into the evening. That's at the Charles and Ramona Myers Center, and they'll have refreshments provided, and then alumni awards ceremony taking place Saturday morning. That's from 10:30 to 11:30 at the Babka Theater inside the Heritage Center, and then they'll be getting pumped up for the football game with the Spartan tailgate that will be taking place. Spartan Fest tailgate, 11:30 to 1:45 in the Upper Finley parking lot. Families invited to come for music, inflatable games, and other tailgate activities, food and drink available. They're going to have some food trucks around, so come on out for that. And then, of course, the football game, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, and the class of 2014 and 2019, they're celebrating this weekend with an event afterwards. So check it all out at dbq.edu/homecoming. Coach Meyer, the football game on homecoming Saturday is the Luther College Norse, as you'll be coming in to take on the Norse. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff once again with all the homecoming festivities going on. So as I just ran down, lots of activities going on homecoming week. And, you know, on any campus, whether it's high school or college, it's, homecoming week's a big week. And I know you're excited to have your team a part of it.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. And, yeah, there's some things during the week, too, that we're going to get our guys involved with. You know, they have a comedian coming in, a really popular comedian, actually, that'll be here tomorrow evening. And then also something called Wingo that all the guys, when they heard about that, they got pumped up about. So, you know, anytime football guys can get their hands on food, they're pretty excited about that. So, but yeah, it's a great opportunity. And then to have alumni and all that stuff back, and even for us that are new to the program to meet some of the alums that we haven't been able to, I think that's really special. And it was nice to have that at the alumni game as well, or the Hall of Fame game on the first game of the season. So it was really cool to meet some really special people.
Yep, and like you said, you'll be able to meet several more, and your assistant's looking forward to that. And, one thing I was going to shout out to the Spartan football staff about that I thought that was really cool that I saw you were doing on Friday, and I think it was Saturday. A lot of those guys were tweeting out the games they were at. The different high school games. Just I mean, just it's good to get out there and show that you're out there looking at a lot of these potential new Spartans, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our staff. They're working really hard, and we've taken some opportunities on Friday evenings to go out and check out some high school games and see what talent is around and let them know that we're really interested and we're supportive. And our staff has been outstanding with that.
Let's talk about the game this Saturday. Luther College coming in, and they're going to be excited. They got their first win of the season and the first win in a long time. Actually, they went 0-10 last year, and so since I think 2022, that's their first win since the last game of 2022. They beat Anderson, Indiana, by the score of a 9-6 ball game. So a struggle between those two teams, but Luther prevailed, and so that's going to be a team that's going to come in excited to play Dubuque.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Anytime you get a win and then that type of I'm sure the environment was really fun, and you're down 6-0 in the fourth quarter and you respond and get 9 points in the fourth quarter to win the football game to get your first win in nearly 2 years, and that's exciting for the players to have that. And so they're going to have a lot of momentum coming into this game, so we don't have time to overlook or under prepare for anybody, and they're going to be coming in hungry and ready, and we got to be hungry and humble and be able to attack that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about things you know about Luther at this point. You're doing a lot more studying as we talk this weekend and probably today. But offensively, what concerns you when you look at them? What are they going to try to do against your defense?
I'll let Coach Shep kind of talk about that. He'll kind of have
his job.
Yeah, better understanding of those things. But I think they're pretty multiple. They had in the offseason, actually just this summer, it wasn't too long ago, their offensive coordinator changed. They had a change in offense coordinator. So, I think they're still going to probably do similar things that they've been doing, but maybe not to that pace that they've played at before. But I'm sure the concepts won't change a whole lot just because for the kids' sake to be doing similar things.
Mm-hmm. Defensively, what are they going to present when you look at them on the defensive side of the ball?
So they're mainly a 3-down front. They'll jump in between like a little spread version where they're in 5 techniques with their ends, and sometimes they'll be in a bear where they're a little tighter in 3 techniques. Kind of a 3-stack-ish, 3-5-3-ish. They'll kind of move a guy around. They have a guy, he's number 8. They'll kind of move him into some different spots within the box, trying to create like some issues maybe for your linemen, like when we have double teams and stuff, like to affect who they're going to on their doubles. So we got to be really mindful of that and finding where their guys are and trusting our eyes and going where we're supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And if we trust our eyes and our technique, it'll take us to where we're supposed to be at.
They did get a win this past Saturday, but they've been beaten pretty soundly by the team that just defeated UCO 63-0 and 53-7 lost to St. Olaf. So obviously there's things that you feel like you want to take advantage of and exploit. And offensively, you probably feel like there's some pretty good matchups that you could take advantage of.
Yeah, and we that's been our story the whole year. We got plenty of talent, and then it's a matter of getting that talent to work together in one direction. And we've done that in spurts and sometimes in waves, but not consistently. And so we need a consistent effort to be efficient through this game. And if we do that, we're going to like our outcomes. And it's all in our control. This past game it was that way. The previous game, it was that way. The first 2 games, it was that way. And, I believe in our guys, and I believe that they're going to respond and do the right things this week.
You're looking after this week to be the bye week ahead. So, you really want to get a win to go into that bye week, feeling good at 2-1, getting ready for the rest of the American Rivers Conference the rest of the way each week.
Yeah, and that's what our focus needs to be on, not trying to win conference. It's got to be we need to win today. And then when we get to Tuesday, we're going to win Tuesday. And then we stack those days up. And then when we get to Saturday, now we're prepared the right way. We're not thinking about Saturday right now. We're thinking about, just getting through our walkthrough that we had, jog through, and executing that. And then we'll turn to tomorrow and so on and so forth. And we keep stacking those days up. Good things can happen that way.
Coach Myeri, we'll let you go here. But before we do, any final thoughts before you head into game number 4 on the schedule as you get ready to take game number 5, on the schedule? Game number 4.
It's going quick.
I know, not that quick though.
Yeah.
So but it is crazy. So how the Spartans season just rolls along. But thoughts on the next game ahead?
Yeah, they're going to be a great opponent. They're going to be, like we said, hungry, and they're coming off a big win for their program, and we're going to have to meet that intensity and be ready and prepared. I'm really proud of our guys. They've been resilient. They're in a tough situation right now. We're in a tough situation as a program, but we keep challenging them to show up and find some joy in each day that we compete in. And they came ready this morning. We had meetings at 6:15 this morning. There was everyone there. They're ready to work, and I trust that they're going to continue to do that no matter what happens, win, lose, or draw. And that's got to be our process no matter what, because when they're done here, that's how they got to proceed in life. Like, you're going to lose some days, and are you going to get up the next day and do what you need to do to take care of yourself and your family? And that's what we're doing right now. Like, we're just sharpening them for life, and hopefully we win some football games when we do that. But ultimately, like, we got to keep responding and showing up, and I believe our guys are going to do that, and they did that today.
A lot of truth to that, Coach. Before I let you go, your defensive coordinator, Mitch Shepard's going to be over here in just a moment, and tell us about Coach Shep a little bit before he takes over on the mic.
So Coach Shep and I think, are very similar in terms of personality. Like, both of us don't have a lot to say. Like, we're pretty quiet people. And I think that's probably why we get along very well. But I think in nature, like, we have a kind of calmer disposition and the way we approach things. And so when I had an opportunity for him to join our staff here, I thought it was a no-brainer for our program and for what we're trying to develop and grow. And from a cultural standpoint, and he knows me, he knows what my expectations and standards are like. So anytime you can get someone to come in that can share those things and be able to put those into practice, like, that's a huge thing. And, his significant other, Lex, and she's been phenomenal, and they got twin boys, Jordan and Cooper, and it's just really cool to have their family within this family here. And I consider him a great friend before even a colleague, so that's pretty special.
We'll enjoy meeting Coach Shepard when he comes over here for the first time at the University of Dubuque football show. Coach Myeri, best of luck to you and the Spartans as you take on Luther College this Saturday, and we'll have the call on the Spartans website that you're able to view it on at the Spartans website. So check it out there. Coach, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you, Tim.
All right, Ryan Myeri, head football coach of the University of Dubuque, joining us, and we'll come back and we'll talk with Mitch Shepard, defensive coordinator for the Spartans, in just a moment. And we're back on the University of Dubuque football show here on this Monday night of homecoming week on the University of Dubuque campus here at Chalmers Field, as you see it in the background. And the defensive coordinator of the Spartans, Mitch Shepard, as we mentioned, joining us right now. And Coach Shepard, welcome to the Coaches Show, and welcome to the University of Dubuque campus, first of all.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, you found out that there was a job opening at the University of Dubuque once Coach Myeri took over the reins, and was that pretty much a no-brainer that you wanted to come and take on the defensive coordinator job here at UD?
Be a part of it? Absolutely. I mean, after being on campus and meeting the people around campus, the people who are already a part of the staff, and other members of the community, at that point it was a no-brainer. I enjoy being in a bigger city as well. I'm originally from Seattle, which is much bigger than Dubuque, but having lived in a much smaller town previous to being in Dubuque, I enjoy having more options around town now as well.
And you look good in blue too. You had to trade in some of that Some of that red goodwill, probably, I guess.
Yep, had to donate it, let it go.
Well, first of all, let's talk about your job as defensive coordinator. Overall views on the defense's job so far this season, and your thoughts how they played over the first few games.
Yeah, I think that we're making progress. And as a coach, that's what you're looking for. You want to see improvement from your unit week to week. Things that we want to and are hanging our hat on are being a disciplined group, which there's room for growth, but we're getting better at. And then just being relentless. A big part of defense is seeing the ball and getting everybody to the ball and being physical in your pursuit to do so. And we're far from perfect, but I'm proud of the guys and the mindset they have every day to show up and improve in those areas in building our identity.
You know, Coach Myers talked about this, but one thing that he was so blessed to have was a group of seniors that came and stayed. And, you know, you have that on the defensive side of the ball in many areas.
Absolutely. Just looking at the linebackers who I spend the most time with, there are a ton of seniors. There's going to be a gaping hole next year, but it says a lot to their character when there was a new head coach here and changes in the coaching staff that they all chose to stay. And a lot of them are fifth-year players who chose to stay. They didn't have to make that choice. So I'm glad that they came back and have a ton of experience, particularly in the linebacker group, but also, you know, Dalton Wood at safety. He's a fifth-year senior as well. So there's experience around the board, but particularly in that linebacker group.
Mm-hmm. What areas have you really seen the most improvement with this group as they've come through the first few games?
I think not as much a schematic thing, but really just supporting each other. Everybody on the defense has a role, and everybody's role is different, right? Some guys are taking 70 snaps a game. Some guys don't see the field at all. But guys have really continued to buy into what their role is because everybody's job matters. And people have really been taking ownership of what their role is, which makes us a tighter-knit group, a more committed group, and leads to better results when we do that.
You know, what maybe have been the biggest challenges when you, not just this job, but taking over a different position, going from, you know, a defensive coordinator one place to another stop, and you bring your philosophies and your defensive mindset, and that takes some time.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. Number one is just really getting to know all the people. One reason I love the way Coach Myers coaches is that he's really relationship driven with the players. Those are extremely important. And just getting to know people takes time. So that's always a challenge because it does take time. You can't build relationships overnight. Understanding what makes guys tick, and then you're able to coach them better and mentor them better. And then from the schematic standpoint, everything's new to our guys. We're starting in the spring, it's been new to our guys. So the more reps we can get under our belt, the more comfortable guys are going to be in different situations. And there's going to be continuous progress in that way as well.
Coach Shepard, anything else you want to add about your UD defense before I let you go? And look forward to watching them on Saturday against Luther College.
It's going to be fun on Saturday, homecoming game. A lot of events going on around campus, but our focus when 2 o'clock hits is going to be executing every dang play so we can get the result that we want.
Coach Shepard, it's a pleasure meeting you, and best of luck to you and your Spartan defense on Saturday and the entire Spartan team as you take on Luther College this Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. You bet. Well, that's going to wrap up our University of Dubuque football show for this evening. Thanks to Coach Shepard for stopping by and, of course, Coach Myers. And we'll look forward to bringing the broadcast with my partner Jim Kaloran here at 2 o'clock kickoff from Chalmers Field on udspartans.com. You can check out the live stream there. And hopefully you can come to Chalmers Field and support them in person right here on Saturday afternoon. So, thanks for tuning in. I'm Tim Larry for the UD Football Show with head coach Ryan Myers. Have a great night.